Welcome to Common Sense Investing. My name is Cameron. It's another Monday evening live stream to talk about microcap stocks because why not? That's what I'm here to do. I'm a microcap investor, and every week, usually on Monday evenings, I am human. There are weeks that I miss, but usually Monday evenings. If you're new to this channel, this is when I come down here with you and talk about microcap stocks. And what better thing to talk about this week than Planet Microcap Showcase? So this was in Vegas in 2025, April 22nd to 24th. It just finished up, right? And what I've been doing is I wrote articles, I think 9, 10, 11, 12 articles on Planet Microcap Showcase, a whole bunch of free articles introducing you to every stock that was attending this event. There was 110 stocks. You can go see those articles for free still on my Substack. Now the event has concluded. What can I learn from that? What were some of the stocks that got my attention? What were some of the stocks that got your attention? That's what today's live stream is going to be about. So welcome. Hello. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Hopefully everybody can see me and are looking forward to talking about Planet Microcap. As usual, I have a little bit of a presentation built for you, but because I'm talking about stocks on this live stream, feel free to interrupt with comments, concerns, questions, your opinions. Probably going to be a little light today. Generally, I'm a Canadian microcap channel, even though I do cover a lot of American stocks. You will see in this presentation through Planet Microcap Showcase. I also have quite a few investors from the United States as well as Europe. And it is Canadian election today. So I do want to say right off the bat, go vote. It's 6:30 in BC, it's 7:30 in Alberta, it's 8:30 in Saskatchewan. Polls are open till I believe 9:30. This is important to me. I don't care who you vote for. I did vote conservative this year. I voted liberal in 2015 and I kind of regretted it ever since. And finally, there's a conservative leader who I feel is good enough this year to really, make a change. So I voted conservative. Whoever you're going to vote for, it's important that you go vote. So if you're watching this channel, you haven't voted yet, you live in Canada, please go vote, right? It's whether you vote for the party I choose or not, it gives a better representation of what Canada wants. And that is what I like to see, right? Voted on the second day. Absolutely. I did too. Early voting was great. Hey, Spike. Hey, Jeremy. Appreciate your hard work, Cam. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. I appreciate the support. I appreciate people talking about microcap stocks. It's been a rough 2025 for microcap stocks, right? And that means it's April. We're heading into May. That means it's been a rough 4 months in microcap stocks. The people who are watching this live stream, the people who are watching this video later that are still interested in microcap stocks, pat yourself on the back. You are microcap. You are microcap investors, right? You're here for the good times. You're here for the bad times. The good times are when we make money. The bad times are usually the best time to buy a microcap stock because they're beat up, they're cheap. And the people here are the real microcap investors that will make money in this space. So thank you. Appreciate it too. I love all my supporters. And it's the motivation. I'm trying to motivate people, right? What I saw was that everybody got on into stock market investing during COVID, especially at the start. Stock market went up. Nobody knew what they were doing. When the stock market crashed in late 2021, 2022, a lot of people disappeared. Probably 80 to 90% of the new investors just disappeared. That's the wrong thing to do. It is these bad markets, the bear markets, that I think are some of the best opportunities to invest in some of these microcap stocks. And thank you to Ian Castle and Robert Kraft from Planet Microcap and Microcap Club, Ian Castle, for putting on this event. I've talked about it so many times now, I feel like a broken record. Why it's important to us. Planet Microcap Showcase is important to us. Also coming up now next in September is the Small Cap Discoveries Planet Microcap Conference in Vancouver, in Canada, Vancouver in the fall. I believe it's September 29th or October 1st or something like that. I'm going to start talking about that one. I will be there personally to that one. I've already got my ticket booked. I believe my wife booked that one already. So why is Planet Microcap Showcase so important? Cash, investors bring a lot of cash. Mostly, Planet Microcap has a lot of the best shareholders. When I see buying, when I see volume buying, price going up, volume going up, even price not going up, just volume going up, buying. Microcap investors buying microcap stocks at Planet Microcap. These are some of the best investors. These are the long-term buyers. These are the shareholders that every microcap stock dreams about. So when we get buying of a microcap stock at Planet Microcap, you know that it's getting bought by some of the best shareholders that you can ask for, as well as some of these companies get a little bit of extra support and a little bit of extra attention. I am going to break it down what happened for you. Yeah, truly a microcap connoisseur now. That's awesome. If you made it this far, you're going to make it, right? It's addictive, it's fun, and you can make money. Find me another, hobby that is, interesting, fun, good for the brain, keeps you going, other good people to talk to, has a little bit of a community, and makes you money. There's so many hobbies that people have. I always joke around at this time of year because I used to be a big hockey fan, and I actually quit years ago during the strike. I said it's enough because I used to get too emotional, right? My team would win, I'd be happy for 2 days during the playoffs. My team would lose, and I'd be pissed off for 2 days. And I said, this isn't healthy. So I quit hockey, and I put all of my time from watching the NHL playoffs and all of my time watching hockey, 82 games plus the playoffs, and I put it more into microcap stocks. And, I go from having a hobby that is costing me money, costing me time, and hurting my relationship with people. Microcap stocks might still hurt my relationship with people, right? I could hear my family up there above my head right now, but it makes me money. And hockey didn't do that, right? Now, before I move forward with kind of the conclusion of Planet Microcap, this is probably the last video I'm going to talk about Planet Microcap. I think it's now been about 3 live streams in a row where Planet Microcap was the focus of my channel. This is a summary video. Let's wrap it up and move on. Before I do, though, not a financial advisor, not your financial advisor. Common misconception for people on my channel, I'll talk about this more later. I'm not really a stock picker. I'm a researcher and a communicator, right? I like doing research and I like talking about that research. And that happens to bring up certain stocks that I think are better than others. But I'm not a stock picker. It's not financial advice, and it's not how to invest. It's just how I invest. I generally recommend that all investors, microcap investors especially, go learn from the best microcap investors, pull the pieces out that works for you, and then put it into a package again that works for you and makes you money. Because we're all different. We have different experiences. We have different risk levels. We have different amounts of capital that we're working with, everything else, right? So not financial advice. What I will say, my criteria going into Planet Microcap, what I was looking for, obviously, is good management, a good company, cheap, secret knowledge, and social proof. Now, I've talked about this in the past. This isn't necessarily what I'm looking for day to day in a microcap stock, but because Planet Microcap was a social experience, 550 investors or whatever it was, 1,750 scheduled meetings, 110 presentations. This was a social event. I was looking for some things outside of the norm, outside of the numbers, like social proof. How many investors are buying? How many investors are talking about a stock? That's what I'm going to talk about here today, right? Looking for some of these qualitative things that I'm not normally looking for, right? So that's what I ranked my basis on here for Planet Microcap. I got handed a 0 on a UK microcap this year, but URL and Kraken Robotics have been more than enough to make me search for more. Absolutely. Good to have you here. Good to keep you here. I'll show you in this video is that you never bat 1,000%. Never, ever. Don't expect it, right? I tend to diversify, make sure that you have a portfolio built the right way where you protect your capital, you keep investing in your winners, and you pull out of your losers. No microcap investor will bat 1,000%. 2 out of 3 is fantastic, right? And, I'll talk about this by the end of the video because even myself, again, researcher, this was from my paid article. So after this live stream, give me 15, 20 minutes. I will head down to Substack, and the paid articles that I wrote before Planet Microcap, I will make them free to everybody to go give them a read. These were my top 5 stocks heading into Planet Microcap, with McCoy Global was number 1, NTG Clarity Networks number 2, Covalon number 3, Crescendo number 4, and Zoom Technologies number 5. Now, what I tend to say is that kind of forget the rankings, right? Well, I don't want you to forget the rankings this time because McCoy Global did fantastic and it was my number one pick. So keep the number one pick, right? And ignore the rankings for the rest of them because there was 110 there's 110 companies attending Planet Microcap. When you get into kind of what I figured were the top 10, because this rounds out my top 10, right? This is the top 10 companies out of 110. That's pretty darn good. This is like the top 9% of the companies that I thought were attending Planet Microcap. I had Adcore here in about 6th place, Acorn Energy in 7th, FitLife Brands in 8th, Coil Energy in 9, and WidePoint in 10. Now, again, I'm rounding out the numbers here. Basically, these were my top 10 stocks from my 2 paid articles in my Substack. Now, I'm going to go talk about that and how they did, right? So these were them. I'll open this up. All my paid articles here. I'll open this up to free. So after this live stream, you can go read for it. So I do a bit of marketing. I have to do marketing every video now. My wife insists on it. I have a paid Substack, both free content and paid content. I also have my Patreon Discord. You don't have to pay for both. I have the Patreon Discord because this is for typically the more tech-savvy investors who like to talk stocks pretty much all day. We're in there. We're in there all day. There's comments. I wake up in the morning. There's comments. All day I put comments in there. But I know a lot of investors don't like Discord. If you sign up for the Patreon Discord and you join Discord, you get all of my paid articles. So you don't have to pay for the Discord and then go pay for the Substack. But keeping in mind that I know a lot of investors don't like a Discord. They don't want to sit there and talk stocks all day. They just want an occasional email in their inbox that they can go read. I've got the Substack here, the paid Substack, but you don't need to go pay for both. You just have to choose one. I also have the free Substack here, right? So this is interesting here is that J-Ray, great question. I was actually waiting until the Canadian election was over. I was going to put out the same post. I'll probably repost it after the election's done, just to get J-Ray a few more people commenting. Which companies stood out at Planet Microcap conference? And for J-Ray, it was Sangoma Technologies and McCoy Global. And I just wanted to talk about that because a lot of the things that I was looking for was your opinion, social proof. I wasn't there. I was watching presentations from home. I had a bit of an advantage. In a minute, you'll see why, because I had all the data going for volume and share price and everything, so I could watch more of the technicals while the company was presenting. But there's definitely huge benefits to being there in person, which is the qualitative. Which companies impressed you? Which companies had the best pitch? When I watched these companies online, I couldn't see the CEO speak. You just get a slideshow, right? So some of the people, for me, I'll start it off, even though I wasn't there. What I was looking for was higher volume and share price. And the winner for me, one of the winners during the event was Renoworks. So they had a tiny little company. They're still a nano-cap stock. They had higher volume and higher share price both Thursday and Friday. So that's what I was looking for. The company was presenting. Investors were on their laptops, on their cell phones, looking at the company as it was presenting. Did they like it? Did they do some research? Did they open a spec buy position? When a company is as small as Renoworks, when you get 3, 4, 5 good investors, some of them large money investors, opening up even a tiny spec buy position that just says, hey, good enough company, good enough pitch, I just want to put this in my portfolio to go do a bit more research later, you will see higher volume and share price. So I think Renoworks interested at least a few people at Planet Microcap, so they were my pick. Ryan here, FitLife Brands, very impressed by management. McCoy Global, that's another vote for McCoy Global. Sanuwave, NTG Clarity Networks. These three saying, I don't know if Ryan meant just NTG Clarity Networks or all three, managed to reduce skepticism significantly. Again, that's the nice qualitative approach. You go look at the numbers, you go read the MD&A, maybe even listen to an earnings call. It's all kind of robotic. It may not reduce your skepticism, the qualitative of having a CEO, having management look you in the eye and say, everything's fine, everything's good, here's our growth numbers, you can hold me accountable to this, right? So being there in person definitely gives advantages. And this was FitLife, McCoy Global, Sanuwave, NTG Clarity Network. Dean here, longer list. McCoy Global again, right? Dirt, Sangoma again, same as J-Ray. So a couple votes for Sangoma. Build, that's a flooring company. Grid, which is Tantalus, which is an energy company. Idaho Resources. You start noticing a lot of the same stocks as mine pop up here. RX, Titan Logistics, and Covalon, right? So a lot of investors go there, and what I'm looking for is they start liking a lot of the stocks that I also like that pop up on my channel as well, right? And I start seeing that overlap where, okay, I'm not crazy. I've done my research. I like the company. I like the stock. Other people do too. I know we're all supposed to be doing our research independently, but it's nice to see other good investors do research independently and come to the same conclusion. Maxwell House, highly respected investor, same as me, listed one company, McCoy Global. Now 3 votes for McCoy Global, right? A lot of people impressed there. Olivier Colombo, Laird Superfoods. This is like a vegan granola bar company, I think. I have it on my list. I research it about once a year. Looks okay. And then Zoom Technologies, which is obviously my number 5 pick. Starting to see a little bit of love for Zoomed. Sangoma, you see how you start seeing good microcap investors start bringing up the same companies over and over and over? Acorn Energy, that's another one. I think it was number 6 or 7 on my list. Kingsway Financial, Zedge, Ascent, Consumer Portfolio Services, and Mamas. I will say that these 2 companies were also high up on my list. They didn't finish top 10, but I do think they finished top 20. So a couple more to look at. We see here Roof, which is pre-revenue stock I really like. North Star Clean Technologies. Zoomed appearing again. First shout out for Intermap. I'm surprised that Intermap wasn't on there more often. I thought their presentation was pretty good. And then Nurse is starting to, this Hydrate Technologies is starting to get a bit of a fan base as share price goes up. McCoy Global again from Tarek. So that's like 4 or 5 votes now for McCoy Global. Build Direct again, 2 people. Build Direct, tiny little flooring company. Now it's at about $1.50 share price Canadian. I actually introduced them. I had videos on Build Direct, I think back in 2022 or 2023 when they were at 40 cents. We got another one here for my RenoWorks that I also highlighted. So starting to get a little bit of social proof there. And then another one for Nurse. So it's interesting again. The social experiment for me as somebody watching this event is, again, I've done my research independently. I've picked my top stocks, and it's fascinating. I go on social media and read the opinions of some of these people who were there in person, and you start to see the same stocks coming up over and over and over. Some of them, quite a few of them, some of the stocks that I already independently researched and picked as mine. You start to see that social proof. And more than that, you start to see like validation in your research that other good investors kind of are seeing the same things that you are, right? So, looking at a couple of my top picks here, and I'll list the top 10 again. Again, this is where I was able to cheat a bit because I was at home watching these presentations, is I ran some spreadsheets. Now, this is a terrible spreadsheet for YouTube. I am so sorry. Too complicated. This change here, this is from Thursday, April 24th. So Planet Microcap started Tuesday. Wednesday, they had the presentations. Nobody was buying stocks yet. We didn't see volume start to go up until Thursday. That was after the presentations. That was during the one-on-one meetings, right? So this is when I really started watching for volume. This change is how much on Thursday the volume was above the average volume. So if it's in the green, if it's high, that means that it's got higher than average daily volume. And then this change is where share price went to after I wrote my article. So basically the week before Planet Microcap into this Thursday, is share price up or down? So what I'm looking for is higher volume, and I'm looking for higher price ideally. I prefer higher volume. This is my number 1 indicator. Higher price is my number 2 indicator. And we start to separate the companies that got some interest versus the companies that didn't. And you could see some huge winners here, obviously, right? McCoy Global, Average volume up 308%, price up 23%. Covalon, volume was up 40%, price was only up 1%. It's been down a bit, but the volume is pretty nice. Acorn Energy, right? Little OTCQB stock that I really like. Volume was up 26%, price was up 3.5%. You could see investors starting to like these companies and buy spec buy positions. Zoom was another winner here, 41% up, 23% up in share price. WidePoint, 26% higher than average volume, 15% up in share price. Titan Logistics did well here, 15% up in volume, 3% up in share price. Enwave, volume was down a little bit, but not much because it doesn't get a lot of volume, and price was up, so it got a little bit noticed. RenoWorks, remember me talking about them? On Thursday, volume was up 1,000%, price was up 11%, and then Creative Realities. I made a YouTube video on these guys. Didn't like their financials enough to put them on my top 10. I think they ended up somewhere around 20, 21, 22 on my list, so they were top 20%, but not super high. They really got attention on Thursday. 85% higher than average volume, 22% increase in share price. So you start to see what I'm looking for. And a lot of the stocks that were on my list, my top 10 list, good volume, good share price. This is why you do research, right? I do the research before Planet Microcap. All of a sudden, people get the Planet Microcap, see the same things that I'm seeing. Volume goes up. I know that other good investors are buying the stock. Price goes up. I start making money, right? So this is why you do it. Great job, Cam. Really appreciate what you do. Thank you. It was, how much work? I think it was 50 hours of work to research 110 stocks. I think I set a record for myself because it was done in about 1 month. I really like VOXR. I've been a holder since 340. They accurately described how they return to shareholder and compound their growth. Very happy. My other was Roof. No new news. Surprised to see the drop. Okay, we'll talk about those after I'm done my presentation for sure. I forget which one the VOXR is. Didn't make my list though, but I can go take another look. This was now same spreadsheet, just simplified. I realized that my other spreadsheet, holy shit, people on YouTube aren't going to be able to read this crazy thing. I shortened it up here for you. This is the volume change for Friday, April 25th. And again, this is the share price change in the week from the week before where I wrote my article to Friday, April 25th. Start to see the same companies get the same amount of attention. McCoy Global, volume still on the second day is up 160%. Price is still up. Zoom Technologies, volume was down a little bit the second day. That's a little bit concerning. Price was still up. What do we got here? RenoWorks for the second day. So there's 2 days of valuation. Remember, RenoWorks on the first day, their volume was up like 1,000%. This is a tiny company. Volume of shares traded was up 1,000%. Second day on Friday, their volume was up 254%. Price is still up 15%. Sangoma. Remember how everybody was saying Sangoma? I think they got 3 votes from people on social media. Volume was up 36% on Friday. Price was up 28%. Creative Realities, again, this is another one. I think, how you can't pick them all? You simply can't cover. You're never going to get them right. I think we talked about that right at the start. What you're trying to do is it's like poker. You put the companies at the best position to succeed as high up as you can go. You invest in the best bets that have the best chance, and you're never going to be 100% correct. In fact, you only really have to be about 51% correct, and you're going to miss some. And you could see here, I guess I could find out because Creative Realities is actually on my list now. This is the top 10. This is the top 20. So holy shit, I've got a good memory. I think I said they were in 22nd spot. That is the 22nd spot. That was 2 days in a row. Creative Realities volume, share price is up 51%. I'm not a shareholder. Missed out on that one, right? Congratulations. And then remember, people were mentioning Bioscience. Volume up 223%. Price was up 2%. Not bad. So again, some of these fell off a little bit. Covalon was down on the Friday. That's, one of my top picks here. NTG, price was still up, but volume was down. Acorn was down. So, we have to look at this week as well. I'm going to go take another snapshot today of Monday and see what happened to volume and share price today. And maybe I talk about that a little bit on the next live stream because that will matter. I'm assuming a lot of investors were flying home on the Friday, were traveling home on the Friday, and that's why some of this volume was down. However, it's hard to ignore that volume was not down on all these companies. Some of these companies got 2 or 3 strong days of buying. So absolutely fantastic. If we go take a look at some of these a little bit deeper, right? McCoy Global, 1 year. Fantastic. Now they have had trouble breaking through this, $3.80, $3.84 kind of resistance level. They didn't do it again here. They bounced back to about the $3.50 level. Somewhere in here. It's hard to read that. It's pretty tiny. Higher highs, hopefully lower lows. I'd be shocked if they come down to this 200 simple moving average again, right? And McCoy Global, huge winner. People were buying this recently at like $2.20, $2.40. It's now at $3.50. That was my number one pick. Flobertus was there, wrote a couple good points here, and I'll link to his X account there in the pinned comment once I'm done this video. Absolutely love this. Had to point this out. The CEO, Mr. Rakievich, the CEO of McCoy Global, was smiling as ever during his presentation. His blue eyes shined as they always do when he gets to talk about McCoy. The company had just announced an 11 million order for its Smart RT product, which it had been building towards for years and has been testing with 3 customers for the past months. Huge milestone for this business. That's why share price rocketed up. We're in a bad market. We're not in like a CanSlim strength market yet. The M isn't in CanSlim yet. Market's still wobbly, flat to down. So we're not going to get these companies just shooting to the moon on good news. McCoy Global did really well to go from 260 to 350. Absolutely incredible. It's interesting that not even their outstanding Q4 earnings, not even their very good 2024 earnings could get the job done on share price. It really took this one press release proving out their product, proving that they have product market fit, that people are willing to buy this new product. And then it happened on the day of Planet Microcap, again, with all these investors bringing cash, hoping to find a new stock that they love and buy it. And that was McCoy Global. So fantastic work, right? Big stock on this channel, NTG Clarity Networks. A little bit of weakness. It's been bouncing off the 200-day line here. One of the things that Flobert has said is that there wasn't many people, 5 to 6 other investors in the room, and considers that, not a lot of people looking at NTG Clarity Networks. I don't know if anybody else was there. Not that I doubt Flobert is here, right? But I'm wondering, my question would be, if I went to Planet Microcap, would I go watch the presentation of a stock that I already have shares in and I'm well researched in it? Or would I go watch something new? Is that potentially why there wasn't a lot of people in the room? I don't know. I just like to get some, thoughts on that, right? Because he's not wrong. Not exactly a huge amount of strength for NTG Clarity Networks here. I watched their presentation. I thought it was pretty good. They are getting share price stable right now, but they didn't necessarily get a big push in volume or share price during the Planet Microcap. That's a little bit surprising for me. I thought this was my number 2 pick going into Planet Microcap, and it's just kind of in the middle. Covalon, 1 year, right? Same thing as NTG Clarity Networks. This is one of my top 5 picks. They got stability. I mean, after the share price decline, and I said, look, we're just trying to find a bottom, and then potentially we'll look at this one again. It looks like we found bottom. They found some support at Planet Microcap, a little bit of buying. It's in the green here a little bit. Share price really isn't up much. So again, they got some volume. They got some investor attention. They picked up some really good shareholders. Not enough to push the price, but still pretty good for Covalon. Crexendo. If you remember this stock, flying to the moon, made people a lot of money, great company, well managed, looking really good, went all the way up to $7. And then analysts came out and said that their 1 year price target was $7. So share price got a little bit frothy on Crexendo. And because of that, earnings came out. Analysts looked at earnings, said, well, shit, it's worth $7. You guys are paying $7 for it. Share price crashed. And finally found a base and then got some good buying here at Planet Microcap, which is good to see. 3-month, 1 hour chart here. That was the 1 year. This is the 3-month. There's your Planet Microcap right there. Volume, share price up. Crescendo did well at Planet Microcap. I think this was my number 4 pick. Very happy about that one. Finally, another big channel another big stock on my channel is Zoom Technologies. Flobert is here. Basically said that pretty impressive, really, smiling at the market. I can only repeat, the CEO was smiling at the market. I can only repeat what was said during our Q4 call. The momentum continues. I think most people were pleasantly surprised with Zoom Technologies. We already kind of knew this, but it was nice to see the more validation at Planet Microcap. And, previously the CEO, I really liked what he said because the numbers are believable when they say that momentum continues, and talk about their Q4 call. It's my memory that says that they were talking about, they don't give full guidance, but the CEO basically said 10 to 70% growth in 2025. Huge wide range, very dependent on whether there's a recession or if these tariffs get worse or anything else. What happens to the state of the ad tech market, but not saying that they're going to get negative growth. And that's a positive. They might only get 10% growth. They're keeping investors, basically not over promising when they don't know necessarily the state of the market moving forward. But, if the market is better than expected, they say they're going to get somewhere between 10 and 70% growth. This is what I was really curious about, the state of the ad tech market, because if you go online for the past 3 months, global recession, doom and gloom, ad tech's supposed to crash. The first thing to go in a recession is ad tech spending. It's never going to work out. And all these stocks crashed in share price, not just Zoomed. It's, Sabio's down, Agcor's down, Illumin's down. All of those ad tech stocks are kind of down. We haven't really seen that weakness yet, at least not in their earnings, right? Like even Zoom just saying, well, we're probably not going to get another 70% growth year because that's not very reasonable, but we're not doing bad, right? And it seemed like there was a few companies, Adcore, Sabio, and now Zoom, who said, look, it's a little weaker this year, but it's not like negative weak. So that was pretty good. The Zoom 1 year, of course, they got support from Planet Microcap. When we zoom in a little bit to their 3-month, 1 hour chart, here's their support through Planet Microcap. Again, though, was Zoomed. So much support, well-known stock. Hard to really explain the share price crash. I did a little bit in my article on Substack, which is also free to read now, right? I listed some of my concerns. But now that the CEO is saying that those concerns that even I had are probably a little bit overblown, they got a little bit of a share price bump and then it's coming down again. So it is a little bit concerning that Zoomed is having trouble holding price. But overall, good support at Planet Microcap. A lot of interested investors. Some of my not top 5 stocks, some of these other ones here, especially ones I like Acorn and FitLife, and we'll look at a few of those. Just the 3-month charts to go through here a little bit quicker. Adcore actually got some buying before Planet Microcap, and then at Planet Microcap just held price. So maybe their presentation wasn't too impressive, but I think people researching before Planet Microcap saw the potential with Adcore. The potential is basically safety. This is like a $15 million market cap company. They have like $10.8 million in cash. So if you buy a share for like $1 worth of share, you're buying like 75 cents worth of cash. And they're saying they're expected to get about 15 to 25% growth, I think it was, in 2025. So pretty safe. You get a little bit of growth. Share price is up a little bit, but their presentation really didn't drive it home. Acorn definitely had a good presentation, right? Planet Microcap got some serious buying pressure up, this little OTCQB stock. And then kind of like Zoom, they got some selling pressure right afterwards. And, potentially, again, because this is a true OTC stock, it's going to get a few more traders in there than normal. And this is a company that really needs some nice, stable, good long-term investors. Like this company, I hope they uplist someday, so it'll be easier for people to buy them. This is, what was FitLife, my 6th or 7th stock on my list. Love it. Very impressive. Congratulations to FitLife, right? Now, I think I first made a video on YouTube somewhere back here. It was a little higher price. And it wasn't, my video was a little bullish on them, but not that bullish. Still waiting to see what would happen next. They got some selling. Share price went down to pretty attractive prices. And, when you have pretty attractive prices and you have a good pitch at Planet Microcap, they got buying before Planet Microcap and then during Planet Microcap. So FitLife Brands, definitely a winner to go check out. A lot of investors were impressed with them. Coil Energy, little bit of support. Tough to see what happens next year. A breakout maybe back to some, more reasonable levels here, or potentially a drop down again. Tough to say. Presentation, it was okay, and maybe that's why share price isn't going up massively. I didn't see any investors that attended the event say that it was an incredible presentation. Sometimes the pitch just isn't quite there. Still a decent company. WidePoint, I'm impressed with, and I think some Planet Microcap investors are as well. Price up, volume up, 3-month, 1-hour chart. This sells IT solutions, I think mostly phones to government, federal US government contracts. And, people were terrified of that because of Doge. So you could see here, like, basically Elon Musk or whatever gets appointed at Doge, and Doge really seriously starts making cuts, and their share price has just gone down ever since. They had a good pitch at Planet Microcap, basically saying that Doge, because they're such a good company, Doge could potentially be a tailwind for them and not a headwind, because they do save government money. So they have some contracts potentially coming in, some higher margin contracts. Now, this is a big winner for me, and I mean, full disclaimer, I bought it down here, and I sold it up here, just like Friday, I think I sold it. And the only reason is I'm not researched enough yet on WidePoint to really hold long term. I had a nice little profitable trade. They did well. I want to take another look, though. I may be buying those shares back at some point in the future, right? I made some money, but they had an impressive enough pitch at Planet Microcap that they're getting noticed. Time to go do more research and see if I want to commit to WidePoint a little bit longer. So, I mean, look, like we talked just at the beginning, 2 out of 3 is pretty good. In this list here, I got about 3 out of 5. McCoy Global was a winner. I think Xendo was a winner. Zoom Technologies was a winner. And again, this isn't necessarily, I'm not saying these are the best companies for the next 5 years or anything, and it's absolutely not financial advice. I am talking about winner through Planet Microcap. Did they get attention? Did they get volume? Did they get some price action? Did they turn some heads? Did investors actually make some comments on them and say, wow, that was a good pitch. I'm going to put this one on my watch list. That's what I'm determining as a winner, right? So for Planet Microcap, my top 5 stocks here, 3 of them I think were winners. Covalon, not bad, just kind of met in the middle. Share price is stable. They got a little bit of volume, not a whole lot. Same with NTG Clarity Network. So I just noticed NTG was up today. So maybe it's just going to take people a little while longer to research them because of the risk. They operate in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Maybe people weren't comfortable with buying a spec buy position, basically on site, sight unseen during their presentation. Maybe people are going home doing a bit more research. But right now, Planet Microcap, a little bit disappointing. They didn't get a little bit more volume, a little bit more price action. Not bad, but not bullish yet. So really no losers, 3 winners, and then 2 kind of meh. Same with this one. This is my 6 to 10 list. No losers, nothing going down in price, nothing going down in volume here. Acorn Energy, I think, did really well. FitLife, I think, was the clear winner from this list, though. Share price, volume, support. It almost looked like we were in a bull market. If you go look at their chart, you'd swear we were back in 2024 and stocks only went up, right? And then same with WidePoint. I think loved the presentation, confident and competent. $28 million company. They have $300 million of revenue. Go check that. They have a shit pile of revenue for a $28 million market cap company. So if they can ever get a little bit better margins and get a little bit of re-rate on price, could be a big winner. Coil Energy, again, wasn't a loser, just kind of meh. And Adcore, same thing. Price went up a little bit before Planet Microcap. I thought I'd see a little bit more of a bump during Planet Microcap. It didn't get that. Not a bad showing, just not like super bullish. So top 10 stocks, right? 3 out of 5, 3 out of 5. So about 6 out of 10, and really no losers. The other 4 just, kind of flat and not super bullish, but no bearish. Good presentations from these 10. I'm pretty glad I picked them. Now, a few wild card stocks. I can't list them all because I'm already 40 minutes in here and I want to kind of finish this up. But RenoWorks Software, I mentioned that. This was in my honorable mentions Substack article, which I'll also open up. Same as FitLife, right? A little bit small to see here, but they got support. They were recognized through Planet Microcap. Price was up, volume was up substantially. And you can go read this article now because, like I said, about 15 minutes after this video, I'll release it as a free article. And go read up on RenoWorks software because it was one of the bigger winners here at Planet Microcap. So congratulations there. Again, Patreon Discord, where you get all my free articles, as well as the Discord, which is daily chat about, different stocks, asking me questions, all my research, or my Substack. If you don't, a lot of people don't like Discord. It's too much for a lot of people. They just want that Substack. I have that as well. And again, what we're talking about in there is, doing the best companies, looking for the best companies, doing research, right? That's what I love to do, is research and communication about these. And that's my whole presentation for today. So I'm going to get to questions, comments, concerns, anything else you have, anything else you want to talk about. Any of the stocks at Planet Microcap, any of the stocks not at Planet Microcap, what have you got on your mind? I hope you went and voted. I hope you're just getting back and catching the end of this because you went to your voting station and you voted. Canadian election today. All right. Let's see how we're doing here. Questions and answers. Move everything over here. All right. Somebody was looking for VOXR. Let me go look at my opinion here on VOXR and then I'll pull it up. Let's see, is it this one? It's a good thing that you're not seeing this, because when you're live on YouTube and then you realize that you don't know your alphabet, you're looking for the right stock here and you can't find it. Let me just go check. VOXR, because it might be under a different name. Vox Royalty Core is the stock that you're talking about. So what are we looking for here? Vox Royalty Core. Actually, I'll just put it on this other presentation channel so you can see. And while I'm doing this, obviously, if there's anything else you want to talk about. So 1 year price chart for Vox Royalty Core, 330, 339. What do they do? I don't remember what they do. Operates as a mining royalty company. Yeah, so this isn't really my niche. That's one of the problems. They hold a portfolio of 69 precious metal royalties in Australia, Canada, the United States, and other locations. I think they were doing well, right? 166 million market cap on the recent one, trailing PE high. What do they got here? Revenue. What was their market cap? Holy shit. Maybe that's why I didn't like them. $172 million market cap. $172 million market cap. So this is over and above what I would ever pay for. So you would have to give me an incredibly insane reason to buy something like this. I have hard limits on certain stocks. One of my hard limits is a double-digit price to sales. I refuse. I don't care how good the company is. It basically helps me avoid a lot of like pre-revenue stocks too. If I can do that, I won't pay a 10 or over price to sales, right? So if this is true, $11 million revenue, $172 million market cap, that's just not something I'm interested in. But they do have a lot to like here. $8.75 million of cash. Looks like they got some cash flow. If my memory serves me correctly, right, they've got cash flow. They're a decent company. Small float, insider ownership, held by institutions, cash, no debt, cash flow. Not the worst company I've ever seen. For me, My only concern is I try to stick within my circle of competence, and I've never necessarily, I don't think I've ever made money in a mining royalties company. And then if you look at the valuation for me, it just seems like a little bit off the chart. But if you're more competent in it than I am, and you've done more research and you think they can grow that kind of 11, $12 million revenue into something much more significant, go for it. Doesn't look like a bad company. It doesn't look like a shitco. It's just the valuation and everything else is a little bit too high for me. And I can go back to my article and look at what I wrote there. Yeah, thanks. Intermap is a banger, big future. Yeah, it's every time. This is one of those stock, disclaimer on Intermap, I don't own it. I wish I did. I knew it was a good company a long time ago. It was at a fair share price. And this is one of those companies I always warn people on. I probably didn't follow my own investing standards, which is I like sales growth. I like revenue growth. Yes, I like the quality of that growth, but I felt like too many investors put too much emphasis back in 2023, especially on earnings growth and not revenue growth. Intermap had revenue growth, but they weren't profitable yet. I kept waiting and I thought, price will come down a bit, and price never came down. Price has never come down. It came down a couple weeks ago, a little bit better price on Intermap recently, but now it's shot back up. So this is one of those stocks I always look at and I think, if it just come down 10 cents, I'd buy it. And that's a good thing, because despite me not owning it, I'm not a shareholder. I wish I did. Great company. And I keep following it. It's one of those stocks that I just keep thinking 20% lower and I'd be a shareholder. And you can't catch them all, right? So, if it doesn't come down to that buying price for me, then I don't buy it. I keep those rules for myself, but really great company. And yeah, guidance looks good for Intermap. Thank you. I asked this question in Patreon as well. I cannot tell exactly how you felt about Hydrate Technologies, optimistic or not. Good question. I didn't like Hydrate. This is another one I missed out on, because Hydrate Technologies, when it was cheaper, what is it now? Hydrate? Let me just check here. What's the share price on Hydrate Technologies? If I can look that up quickly. Because it went down in price recently too, right? So let's take a look at this. So this is Hydrate back up to $1.85. This goes to the 1 year. So it was recently down to about $1.10, $1.11. I thought this would be a really good price, and I wasn't even paying attention to them. And I think at this price here, this is something I could really get behind and be a bit more bullish. Keep in mind, for me, like, it's not, microcaps isn't just about high quality. You got to pay the right price. If you're not paying the right price, then you're never going to be happy. You're going to end up selling unexpectedly because it drops and you panic, or it goes up and you take profits and you don't really understand what you own. It went up again. It got good support. Why does this keep moving? I don't know why, because this ad keeps popping up. It got good support. It got noticed. People at Planet Microcap love it. Share price went up. I'm kind of hoping the price drops back down again. So am I bullish on them? Why wasn't I bullish on them before? I knew about Hydrate a long time ago. I knew about them down here. If I bought them down here and sold them up here, I would have made a fortune. I didn't. The reason is because about 70% of their shares are held by Victory Square Technologies, VST. It's on the Canadian Securities Exchange, I believe, the CSE VST is. So it's like VST.C. And they own, I think it's down to 68% of the shares. So if you're interested in buying Hydrate and you think that this share price is a bit too frothy, you can actually go buy VST and own Hydrate. The reason it's tough at this price, again, because, sorry, I'm flipping around a little bit for me, but $75 million market cap. You go down here, again, not as bad. Revenue, $15 million, not really profitable yet, low on cash. They're going to need more cash, no real debt, really good growth. I like the company. Now, here's the thing, is that the people that like Hydrate really research it. Go really research it, because what you're paying for here is the total addressable market. If Hydrate succeeds, the total addressable market for this stock is probably billions of dollars. And the people that have researched that in depth say that there's a good chance of this happening, because what this company does is so repeatable and it's not understood what they do. And the reason that share price goes up every time they pitch to investors is because it tells investors on a more detailed level what they do. So if you're going to buy this stock because valuation is a little high, you really have to understand what they do. And I'm getting repetitive here, but anytime you pay a high price for a stock, you need to do more research, because what do I always say, right? It's lower risk. I could buy 10 different stocks down here at this low price, and if 2 of them, shoot up to here, then I've made money. But if I overpay, if I'm buying a stock kind of at the highs and, valuation's a little high, man, you got to be patient. Sometimes if you screw up on price, you got to wait years for it to go back up. So the higher the price, the more the risk. So the higher the price, the more research you have to do to understand that risk. I like Hydrate. I do. I haven't done enough research to say that I'm super comfortable myself at this price level. I did like this price level, and I would like to go do more research on them. That's what I would like to commit to. But the other thing that really had me holding back is Victory Square Technologies owned 70% of the shares. And what I was worried about is what happens if Victory Square Technologies sells their shares. All of a sudden, Victory Square Technologies would go up because they'd be getting so much cash. But in theory, Hydrate would go down because they would get so much selling pressure. So what I have heard, and you'd have to go double check, but I have heard that Victory Square Technologies has committed to locking in their shares. So the 68% of the shares that they own of Hydrate, whatever it is now, I believe they're committed to locking that in, so I don't have to worry about them selling all this selling pressure on Hydrate. That's a bit more bullish. If you can confirm that, again, go do your research, and it's looking like a potential banging stock. Absolutely. I have a few more questions on it. A few more questions than I do answers, but they're damn close. So, am I optimistic? Yeah, I think it's looking like a pretty good company. I've got some questions, and I'm kind of careful on what price I would buy it at. But I mean, a lot of good investors at Planet Microcap obviously, they had volume, they had share price, and they liked Nurse. So good one to look for. Yeah, Vox royalty. That's completely fair. Appreciate the honest criticism. Absolutely. And I said the same thing, right? We all invest differently. And for me, again, I'm not saying that I'm right. It's just, there's a certain valuation I won't pay. And again, I don't know with Vox royalty. I don't know enough about them. If you think they're going to get 500% growth next year because one of their projects is going to pay out, that's a different story. But looking at them right now, Kraken Robotics earnings, I did a deep dive on them today in my Discord. I haven't written a Substack article on them yet. I don't know that I will. Good. Yeah, Kraken Robotics earnings, I thought they were good. I basically listed them out today as it's kind of one of those earnings that are, not good enough to buy more shares, but, not bad enough to sell. Right? Can we say that that's probably fair for Kraken Robotics? Share price was down 3%. I didn't look at earnings until after the market closed today. So I thought earnings were going to be bad. Surprisingly, I thought they were pretty good. I didn't have any red flags. I mean, obviously they had a good year, but they also had some dilution and their working capital. Oh, that was terrible. The growth and all the changes they made this year, if you look, their operating cash was something like negative 11 million. They actually made cash if you go work it all out, but they had so many contract assets and contract liabilities that it just blew their working capital apart. So I could see why share price wasn't up today. I wouldn't have bought it up higher based on those earnings, but they weren't bad. The real point, though, is with Kraken, what I'm looking at, go check to make sure that you have the same opinion. But I feel like, well, I don't feel like, I have the evidence in the research that they have more opportunity now moving into 2025 than they did moving into 2024. They're better capitalized. They have $58 million of cash. We're probably not going to see another 25% dilution in 2025. They've got it all, planned out where they're going to spend that cash. I think they had something like, 17 million planned for CapEx that hasn't been spent yet. So they got that big CapEx whole chunk of cash that they're going to spend. So potential for growth. They gave pretty good guidance. On top of that, there's the catalyst of when they're going to spend that CapEx, when that's going to get done. That's going to be some good news releases. Less dilution and fix some of that. This is a year where they could fix some of that working capital and start bringing in cash instead of having that paper cash heading out the door. And so I think the setup is better for Kraken moving into 2025 than it was 12 months ago. They're a much, much, much better company. So, earnings wasn't like, oh my God, surprisingly up and share price should be rocketing to the moon. And why isn't it? No, share price is probably right where it should be. They got a $3 price target, I think, on Kraken right now. They're sitting at, 240, 235. That's probably pretty fair. And 2025, the setup, it looks like they got a setup. Hopefully they go to that $3 share price. That'd be nice gains, right? From about people were buying Kraken for 220 just a couple weeks ago. If it can have a good, 2025 and go to $3, 220 to $3, that's a nice return. Hash News, Simply Solventless Concentrates, they just released a press release just before I started this live stream, so I haven't been able to digest it, but their acquisition of cannabis, it's hard to say, fell through. Apparently Cannabis canceled the acquisition, so no idea what that means. I think some people will be pissed off because they were looking at, hey, look at this amazing combining both the earnings and how good it's going to be. And other people are going to be happy because they thought that, Hash was just doing too much too quickly. And yay, the sale fell through. Let's try to simplify the company a little bit. It happened hours ago. So that's just my initial thoughts and kind of first glance opinions. And I haven't had time to really digest it. Probably the more concerning part is because it happened today. I think their earnings comes out soon, isn't it? So, better go rewrite those things. Like the investor deck, they're going to have to change the investor deck. They were probably planning for the combined investor deck, and that's going to have to all be changed. Gatekeeper with a rough first half to their fiscal year might get a nice entry point. Do you still follow it? Yes. I saw they came out. I was researching Kraken today, full year earnings. I deep dived that. I saw Gatekeeper came out. I haven't even looked at Gatekeeper. I haven't even opened up the press release. So come back next week. I'll take a deep dive look at Gatekeeper or go in my Patreon or wait for a Substack article. That's usually what they do though, right? Gatekeeper right now is setting up with those Toronto. The bullish part of Gatekeeper systems right now is the Buy Canada. Like whatever happens with the election today, whatever happens with Donald Trump tomorrow, next month, or next year, there has been a movement in the Canadian government now, and the government moves slowly to buy more Canadian stuff. And Gatekeeper is listed as a Canadian company, and then they get those pilot kind of contracts in Toronto and one other municipality somewhere in Ontario, I believe, going off memory here. So they're starting to get some Canadian revenue. And I think their big problem for Gatekeeper that we've seen was they went for large cities and they were missing. They were missing out on large cities. They were getting beat in the bidding wars by the private companies who don't have to worry about margins. If now we're on this Buy Canada rant and they can go to a city like Toronto and maybe not be the cheapest option, but they can be the cheapest Canadian option, I mean, that's kind of the bullish, speculative type conversation right now with Gatekeeper systems. And because they're doing that, they're just, building up their smaller companies right now, small bits of revenue. But if they ever got one of those larger, especially like a Toronto, Canada contract, that'd be huge. So that's kind of what we're looking for. That's without me looking at earnings at all, right? That's just some discussion. Victory Square, many questions about them. Hydrate, because Game On is also out on them. Game On does not care about stock. Yeah, Game On is gone. I saw a post from Matt Bailey, the CEO of Game On Entertainment, which is like dissolved now, I think, right? And he basically lists out all the things that he learned and didn't learn throughout his process as CEO of Game On Entertainment. And that was a completely failed stock. Victory Square Technologies, I'm not going to fault them. I'm probably a little bit biased because they have had a lot of shit companies, and they're a holding company, right? They're a nursery. They buy up smaller companies. They build them up into what they believe is a company good enough to go public. They take them public, and then if they succeed, then Victory Square Technologies succeeds. They've had a lot of dogs. But the thing is, the argument is with a company like Victory Square Technologies, you might get 9 dogs, you get one winner, and that's all you need, and you can make a shit pile of money. So that's their argument. And right now, their winning dog is Hydrate, right? So they've had some bad stocks. Game On Entertainment, Fans Unite. There's been a list, but I'm not saying that Victory Square is bad in any way, shape, or form. It's the nature of their business, right? It's a tough business, right? Get a chance to look at Well Health Technologies. Thank you. No, I haven't. I don't know that I will unless I'm bored in like a month. With Planet Mike, I'm a microcap investor. I love Well Health Technologies. That's a digital healthcare company in Canada that's mostly now buying up brick and mortar locations. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, you can't go to like a healthcare clinic in Canada without using a Well Health Technologies service at one point or another. So I'm very bullish on the macroeconomics of that. The problem is with Well Health Technologies is I am a microcap investor. Our advantage as a microcap investor is tiny companies with simple earnings that institutions can't buy. So I get earnings. Kraken Robotics is a $550 million market cap company, somewhere in there, 500 million now. It took me, I don't know, 2 hours to go through their earnings, MD&A and financials, all the notes, everything, right? It doesn't take hours and hours and hours. Well Health Technologies has some of the most complicated friggin' financials that I've ever seen, right? So I start losing my advantage. If I have to take 5 or 6 hours to go interpret the earnings of a company, I start losing my advantage to institutions who have more time, more resources, more eyeballs to look at this stuff. So I don't know that I will at this point, right? It's not a microcap anymore. The earnings are very complicated, and I start losing advantage when that happens, right? Yeah, that's fair. I just read the highlights this time. Not really worried about it. More interested in news for High Tide. Yeah, High Tide slowly trickling up. What a freaking... I gotta stop. I'm getting borderline swearing now on YouTube. Drama-filled company, High Tide. High Tide was supposed to be safe. High Tide is a cannabis retailer. And basically, I looked at High Tide is, forget that they sell cannabis. This is a pretty safe brick and mortar location. They have stores where they sell a product at decent margins because it's cannabis. They can charge a little bit more. And all they need to do is keep doing what they do best, which is open more cannabis stores and open more cannabis stores and open more cannabis stores. It's not that hard. Somehow High Tide decides to fly out to Germany, buy a company, not buy a company, fly out to Germany again, do whatever the heck they're doing, forget about their business back in Canada because the numbers in Canada were suffering and their acquisitions out in Germany were falling through. And then this company, I forget the name of it. My mind is telling me Suncor, but it's not Suncor because that's an oil and gas stock. I think it starts with an S. This other company, which is basically a liquor and a cannabis company, is coming in and buying up shares of High Tide, basically looking for a hostile takeover of High Tide. Their share price went from like $5 to like $2.20. And then High Tide came out with a press release basically saying that they put in shareholder approved measures in the event of an offer for the purchase of their company, so shareholders would be protected. And this was basically them projecting to the market that if they do get a hostile takeover, they're going to have ways to fight it, and they won't have to sell the company for too cheap. And since they announced that press release, share price has been trickling back up. So it went from $2.20 Canadian. I think it's back up to about $3.30 Canadian. Still not great. I'm a shareholder. I think I initiated my first buy at like $3.48 or something like that. So I'm even myself a little bit underwater with high tide and drama. I don't know what's going to happen there. I'm disappointed with management. I am. For me, I think high tide lost focus on their core business, got distracted by some mistress in Germany, and sales suffered in Canada. Of course, that's an analogy. I'm not saying he's got a mistress in Germany, just that they keep flying out there. CNO might be, look, CNO today, was it down 10%? It needs to hold. California Nanotechnologies, obviously, I love their honesty. They said that, 2025 is going to be a challenging year. This is a company that was, $1.95 Canadian not long ago. Now, today, I think it went down 10% to like 52 cents, something like that. If we get a bad day in the market tomorrow, if we get a Trump 51st state, 1,000% tariffs on China, I'm worried that California Nanotechnologies could drop a little further, considering how far they went down today. If they hold, head to your technicals. If they hold, I know a lot of people are trading the stock up and down. A lot of the long-term investors will be happy to buy at these levels. It's just we need to make sure that they could hold these levels. If my memory serves me correct, I think they're at 52 cents. The next level down is 40 cents, something like that, Canadian. So they need to hold, right? Gatekeeper reported after market thoughts. Yeah, I talked about that one already. I don't know. It came out an hour or two before I opened this live stream. I have not looked at them. So I'll either talk about them on my next live stream or I'll be going through earnings on my Discord probably in the next couple days, right? Sundial, that's it, right? Yeah, Sundial. That's the company that's aggressively buying shares of High Tide. Absolutely. I started listening hard when you said mistress in Germany, then I got disappointed. Yeah. Just making it fun, not saying that anything's going on there. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but it's right. It's like, why are you flying? I know there's amazing markets in Europe and everything. You go to Europe when you got your stuff locked down in Canada. And when the stuff isn't locked down in Canada and you're flying out to Europe for all this growth potential, I got to ask why you're heading out to Europe. Why are shareholders paying for you to head out to Europe when the stores aren't performing as well in Canada, right? So we could blame Sundial for buying up shares of High Tide and maybe collapsing the share price a bit. But you know what? High Tide did it themselves, and they got a lot to prove because I'm disappointed. I haven't made money on this stock yet. This was supposed to be my safe brick and mortar company. Just friggin' open more stores and keep opening more stores for the next decade. I would have been happy, and they couldn't do that. So as you can see, I'm a little bit frustrated. I'm also right around there for High Tide 360. I think their idea with Germany makes sense when you look into it, but it relies on first mover advantage there in the market in Canada for legal weed. Yeah, is still very active. And that's just it. But here's the thing, right? It's tough because it changes expectations. I understand like High Tide moving to Europe is the boom or bust. And if it works out, oh, great. Share price is $10 and everybody's happy. But they were doing well and moved to $5 just on the strength of their Canadian sales. So again, for me, High Tide, you want to go to Europe. Any other company, same with Simply Solventless Hash. What's going on with this cannabis deal, right? Take care of your core business and then go look for other side pieces of revenue, right? Take care of your core business and then go look for that, exponential revenue growth. But you got to take care of your core business or you turn into a High Tide. They drop from, over $5 to $2.20 pretty quickly. Shareholders were not happy. Yeah, it's cannabis pushing prices down. Yep. What was your thoughts on Current Water? I haven't seen much from them. Almost bought a while ago. Yeah, I don't even really follow Current Water Technologies. I said a while ago that I had concerns that some of the things the CEO was saying recently, I think it was said in 2024, was it 2023? Partnerships or driving the company forward in Asia was something that was said by the CEO about a decade ago. Very similar, like copy and paste, similar. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, I got to question this. There's been no interviews from Current Water Technologies, and the biggest bullish indicator for Current Water Technologies recently, I believe, was around a year ago. Um, they did a project in conjunction with a larger company, and that larger company bought some shares, I believe, of Current Water Technologies. And then things will happen. Like I think recently, the CEO of Current Water Technologies bought some shares of the company as well. But I've stopped following them because I've seen a few too many warning flags for me. So they're not on my list. I haven't checked on Current Water Technologies in a while. Agree with you, way too early. This is back on the high tide conversation. No one bought the business to be the largest supplier to Germany. I bought it because of their stores. Exactly. Take care of your core business. You're selling cannabis in Canada. Take care of your stores first, right? Tough love, man. You got to hear it sometimes. I get frustrated sometimes, even on social media, because one of the things I noticed that was happening with High Tide, and look, this isn't a diss to any social media content creators like myself that are honest and hardworking and everything else. But share price goes up. They do a couple good things, and they're like interviews where they're basically rock stars and everything's fantastic. And let's not talk about any risks or any potential things you can do wrong, and everything's great. And then like 2 weeks later, not everything's great. Not everything's great. There were risks that weren't being discussed, and you got people coming to take you over on hostile share buying. It's not good. So. Are there any catalysts coming up for NTG Clarity? Research, I hope. Look, they've had a lot of their catalysts. They released Q4 and full year earnings, which were good. They put out guidance, which was good. Disappointed some people, but my expectation is that they're under promising and probably going to over deliver a little bit. Not sandbag, I'm not saying that, but they do seem to, be conservative on their estimates, and I like that. And then they presented at Planet Microcap. So they had three of their big catalysts, and we really haven't had that share price momentum that I thought we would. Whether they're, not getting bought, not getting researched properly, if it's just they're too high risk of a tech stock and they're simply going to follow the market, that's probably the most likely thing here. Is that NTG Clarity Networks might be that company that needs a bull market to see share price go up. Share price is holding. I can't be upset about that. $1.40, $1.50, $1.60. It's been in that range, so it's not like some of these other companies. Researching those 110 Planet Microcap stocks, there must have been 80 of them. Just boom, straight down, 50% losses. So NTG hasn't been doing bad. But next catalyst will be their Q1, which will be coming up soon. But, it's just a Q1 quarterly. I honestly think because they're more of a high-risk tech stock in the microcap space, they probably need the M to come back into CanSlim. Hate to say it. Maybe that's late 2025 if Donald Trump can get out of the way a little bit and the tariff thing settles down. I expect we start to get more of a bull market later in 2025. Expect, hope. Take for that what you will. But there are some of these stocks, these good companies that they need that bull market to really get share price up. And let's be honest here, right? The CanSlim approach, if you read that book, 3 out of 4 stocks follow the direction of the market, is what that book says. If you go to microcap stocks, it's probably more like 4 out of 5, maybe 4.5 out of 5. Microcap stocks, more than anything else, you don't a lot of times get, all microcaps in the green when the market sucks. And you don't get that. You need generally a good market. So what we're seeing, if you go look at my lists, I think, McCoy Global is in the green for the year. RenoWorks is in the green for the year. CanSlim couldn't be more accurate. I think I've got about 1 out of 5 stocks year to date, 2025, that are in the green, and about 4 out of 5 are in the red, following the direction of the market. So I think NTG needs that as well, unfortunately. Holding is a good sign right now. If we're in a bad market and your share price is holding, I hate to say it, holding is bullish. Unless you want to buy cheaper, and then going down is bullish too. By the way, WSTL is a good microcap. We're checking they're profitable. I actually used their products for a project I had at work. They make equipment that boosts cell signal inside buildings. Oh man, that sounds great. I need one of those. I just, this guy, microcap, Westel Technologies, WSTL, $1.93, $22 million microcap company. Okay, I'll go give it a little look. Share price is okay. Everything looks great. Definitely worth a checkout. So WSTL, Westel Technologies. This guy, you wouldn't believe it. I'm not huge on technology. I know that's shocking, considering it took me, I think, 4 years to put this studio together. I just bought the 4th phone in my entire life. I had a black LG flip phone, the slide up flip phone. This is like one of the first cell phones ever made. This is back in like 2000. I had a BlackBerry Pearl. It was one of the first cell phones that you could actually like type. You had to hit the key 3 times to get the 3rd letter. It had a half keyboard on it, so you only had to hit the key twice to get different letters. And then I had an iPhone 7, and I had that iPhone 7 up until last week. I had an iPhone 7. I had that thing for like 5 years or something like that. And now I upgraded to a Samsung S25. And the only reason I upgraded to the Samsung is because in my office building, I could not get cell phone reception with my iPhone 7. So I was missing calls, missing texts, feeling lonely all day. Nobody's willing to talk to me, and I just had no cell phone reception. So I will go take a look at Westel. I think there's a lot of people that can use that kind of service. I definitely can, and it looks like a pretty good company. One last question on High Tide. Do you think anything should happen to the CEO? No, the CEO is tied with the company. A lot of companies can, pitch a CEO and bring in a new one. Raj and High Tide are one and the same. And they're not doing a bad job, right? Just lost focus. So I think it would take another year or 18 months of losing focus, or potentially barely surviving a hostile takeover before that the CEO, anything would happen to the CEO for High Tide. I don't think that's going to change. An hour and 18 minutes in. Voting stations close in about 40 minutes in Alberta and about an hour and 40 minutes in BC. So if you're in BC, go vote. Canadian election, we'll know who the new prime minister is tomorrow. Ever look into CYM? Doesn't ring a bell. CYM.V. Hydrate Technologies. Let's take a look here. Tiny 12-cent stock, 7.8 million nano cap. Share price is down 27%. Share price has been absolutely obliterated since COVID. Hydrate Technologies, what do they do? Materials technology company engages in the manufacture and sale of stabilized aluminum foam. Okay, interesting product. I'll give them that. This is all of like a 30 cent. You're getting the 30-second, look at analyzing microcap stocks. 3.71 trailer. So they're not pre-revenue. That's good. Cash flow, a little bit of debt, a little bit of worrisome there for such a tiny market cap. I'd have to go look and see what that debt is. That looks okay. Only 6% insider ownership. Okay. No real growth. Diluted EPS only 4 cents. I mean, I don't know much about them. This is one of those types of stocks that looks like it's good for the watch list. I'm always looking for companies that are, at inflection points where they're doing poorly and something changes where they can do better. And I am the first one to catch it because I do so much research. But right now, this is not a company that I would be that interested in, except on my research list. I mean, this is annual revenue. Looks like it's been kind of obliterated in 2024. It's on its way back up, and it's not making money. It's a tiny little nano cap, and they got obliterated here. Share price is down significantly. For me, though, I hate to say it, I get a little bit judgmental. Typically when I see this, I get pretty concerned. Like most companies crashed out of COVID. And we had a lot of companies that went down significantly in 2022, 2023, right? But the good ones, Kraken Robotics, Enterprise Group, and a whole host of others, Gatekeeper Systems, recovered, And when all these stocks were going up and this one was still crashing down here, you would have to write a really airtight thesis to me on, or, why I should be interested in this stock. Because, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, and it's hard to get a stock that does nothing but goes down to all of a sudden become good and go up. So your investing thesis, why you would want me to be interested in this stock, would have to be bloody well airtight for me. And that's it. I am closing it down, an hour and 20 minutes in, and I'm running out of time, running out of voice. Have a good week in microcap stocks. Big tech earnings coming in, inflation data coming in, the PCE, and some other big macroeconomic events this week. Really, it's whatever Trump does. I expect the market to be flat. So probably another week of research, and hopefully the market doesn't crash. I mean, another week of market being flat, and let's go research some more stocks. So the next time we get a bull market, we have the best ones. I'm happy with that, and we'll see you next Monday. Go vote.